and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Meher Sher and these are the headlines. In Brussels, EU foreign ministers have slapped sanctions on 4 Chinese officials over what they called human rights abuses in the country's Xinjiang region. These are the first sanctions against Beijing in over 3 decades. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has earlier warned that Beijing will react with a firm hand against any such move. The Afghan Defense Ministry says the Cherkh district in Lugar province is under the control of government forces. The Taliban claim to have gained control of the area after clashes with security forces on Sunday. There are no numbers available about possible casualties, but reports said the forces made a tactical retreat from the district. Indian troops have martyred 4 civilians in occupied Jammu and Kashmir's Shopian district. The youth were targeted during violent cordon and search operation in Manihal area of the district. India has reported this year's highest COVID-19 deaths and infections for the 2nd day in a row. The Indian Health Ministry says 212 people lost their lives to the virus and nearly 47,000 tested positive in a day. Pakistan has registered more than 3,600 cases and 20 more deaths overnight, pushing the toll to over 13,800. The country has decided to launch a crackdown over violations of coronavirus SOPs as cases surge. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.7 million lives and infected more than 123 million people. And in football, Barcelona have outclassed Real Sociedad 6-1 in their Spanish La Liga face-off. Lionel Messi celebrated a record-breaking 768th appearance for Barca with 2 goals. The win takes Barca back to the 2nd place on table with 62 points, 2 clear of 3rd-placed arch-rivals Real Madrid. Welcome back. And now for the news in more detail, we begin in Brussels, where EU foreign ministers have slapped sanctions on Chinese officials over what they called human rights abuses in the country's Xinjiang region. These are the first sanctions against Beijing in over 3 decades. The bloc's ministers approved the travel bans and asset freezes on 4 Chinese individuals and 1 entity. China's foreign ministry has earlier warned that Beijing will react with a firm hand against any such move. Slovak Foreign Minister Ivan Korchok called it an important step, saying it shows the bloc's commitment to human rights. The mechanism to target rights abusers was launched this month with sanctions on Russia over the jailing of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. The Afghan Defense Ministry says the Cherkh district in Lugar province is under the control of government forces. The Taliban previously claimed to have gained control of the district after clashes with security forces on Sunday. There are no numbers available about possible casualties, but reports said the forces made a tactical retreat from the district. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid claimed the government forces abandoned the police headquarters and all other facilities. Meanwhile, the government says its forces have killed 22 Taliban fighters in Kandahar and Balkh provinces. The Defense Ministry added that 4 Taliban fighters, including their commander, were killed during an operation in Herat province. And Indian troops have martyred 4 civilians in occupied Jammu and Kashmir's Shopian district. The youth were targeted during violent cordon and search operation in the Manihal area of the district. The identity of the martyred youth is yet to be ascertained. The Indian authorities shut mobile communication and internet in the area. The operation was going on till the last reports came in. And in Myanmar, people came out on the streets again after security forces killed 2 more people overnight. A motorcycle rally marked the 1-month anniversary of the country's biggest anti-military protest on February 22nd. Protesters drove through intersections, honking horns and displaying 3-finger anti-coup salutes. Security forces have also started detaining charity workers and paramedics who helped wounded protesters in Yangon. Meanwhile, the European Union is due to sanction 11 individuals linked to the coup at a meeting in Brussels today. Activists say more than 250 people have been killed since the February 1st military coup. And India has reported this year's highest COVID-19 deaths and infections. For the 2nd day in a row, the Indian Health Ministry says 212 people lost their lives to the virus and nearly 47,000 tested positive in a day. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.7 million lives and infected more than 123 million people. More on the pandemic in this report.
While a handful of nations have bottled much of the COVID-19, many still remain in its deadly grip as the world welcomes the second spring in the pandemic. U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention says the country has administered 124.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines so far. However, in South America, deaths and cases continue to spike. Brazil has recorded over 1,200 COVID-19 deaths and nearly 48,000 cases in the past 24 hours. Chile reported its highest daily count of new infections despite widespread restrictions and widely praised progress on vaccinations. Mexico's archaeological attraction, the Pyramid of the Sun, remained closed at the Spring Equinox Festival.
Last year, this festival took place at the start of the pandemic, so they closed everything nationally. And now it has been repeated all over again as a precaution due to the pandemic. But I still wanted to come to this place and experiment with the spiritual peace that you find here.
The European Union has strongly rejected the British government's calls to ship AstraZeneca vaccines produced in a factory in the Netherlands. Meanwhile, Germany is set to extend a lockdown to contain the pandemic after spiking infection rates threaten the healthcare system. In France, health workers soldiered on with the country's COVID vaccination drive on the 2nd day of a new lockdown in parts of the country.
To make vaccinations more efficient, I think today we are at a moment when we are told that doses will arrive, especially AstraZeneca. For example, in Paris, we are told that we can expect around 50,000 doses per week. So I suggest that we open the vaccination so that all those who wanted to get vaccinated could do so.
In Asia, the fresh outbreak in India's richest Maharashtra state is driving the country's overall cases to new highs in many months. The second virus surge grips the country as it marks 1-year anniversary of abrupt lockdown creating chaotic conditions.
Meanwhile, in Pakistan, more than 3,600 people have contracted coronavirus overnight as the country grapples with a rise in infections. The health ministry said another 20 people have died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. It said a total of 13,863 people have died from the disease. Over 630,000 cases have been detected so far, of which more than 580,000 have recovered. The ministry said the number of active cases across the country has topped 33,000. It added over 2,400 patients are in a critical condition. And the president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir has acknowledged the commitment and support of Pakistan armed forces to the Kashmiri cause. Sardar Masood Khan met Pakistan's naval chief, Admiral Muhammad Amjad Khan Niazi, in Islamabad today. The two dignitaries shared concerns about human rights violations by Indian troops in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir. They also discussed the latest security situation in Kashmir. The naval chief reiterated that Pakistan Navy will continue to support the Kashmiri struggle for the right to self-determination. Moving on, Pakistan says it will raise objections over the designs of India's Pakal Dul and Lower Kalnay hydroelectric plants at the next water-sharing dialogue between the two countries. Foreign Ministry spokesman Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry confirmed the talks are scheduled to take place in India's capital, New Delhi, on March 23rd to 24th. This will be the first meeting of the Permanent Indus Commission in 3 years on the Indus Water Treaty. Chaudhry said the commission is supposed to meet at least once a year under the treaty that governs water usage on the Indus. The talks follow an agreement between India and Pakistan to respect their mutual ceasefire understanding at the line of control. And the Saudi-led coalition says it has killed a senior Houthi leader and destroyed their missiles and drones assembling facilities in Yemen. The coalition said it carried out several airstrikes on the Houthi-controlled Yemeni capital, Sana'a, and the eastern Marib province. Meanwhile, the rebels said the coalition's strikes targeted the Sana'a airport. They said the coalition also launched 3 air raids in the coastal province of Al-Hudaydah and the northern Amran province. The Saudi-led coalition has stepped up its airstrikes against Houthi positions in retaliation against the increased attacks on the kingdom. And President Xi Jinping says China will uphold the political settlement of the Korean Peninsula issue. State media said Xi made the remarks in a verbal message to North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. This comes as the U.S. is attempting to contact North Korea to prevent tensions from escalating. But Washington says no response has been received so far. 3 meetings between Biden's predecessor, Donald Trump, and Kim Jong-un achieved little. Washington and Pyongyang remain at odds over North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. In Russia, a court has upheld a decision by state investigators to not open criminal investigations into the poisoning of jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. He fell ill in August last year and was airlifted to Germany, where doctors said he had been poisoned with a nerve agent. The Kremlin has denied any role in his illness and said it has seen no proof that he was poisoned. His allies had asked authorities to open criminal cases into his poisoning and filed a legal complaint. But a Russian military court rejected their appeal, ruling that investigators' refusal to look into the matter formally was lawful. Navalny's team says it plans to appeal the ruling. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has arrived in China on a 2-day visit. He was invited by the Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. In an interview ahead of his visit, the Russian foreign minister said high-level cooperation between Beijing and Moscow is necessary to counter the hegemonic designs of some Western countries led by the United States. Lavrov said Washington is hindering the formation of a truly multipolar and democratic world. He said Moscow and Beijing will continue to promote global multipolar development and regional integration. Lavrov added it is a top priority for the two countries to ensure a fair and stable international and regional order. And Jordan says its recent defense agreement with the U.S. does not harm the kingdom's sovereignty. Jordan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said this in a parliamentary address. Safadi said the agreement is subject to Jordanian and international laws and is exclusive to fight terrorism. The deal allows free entry and exit of American troops, aircraft, and vehicles into the Jordanian territory. Under the deal, American military personnel can transport and stock equipment on the kingdom's territory. The deal signed in January bypassing the kingdom's parliament in an extraordinary move. In the United Kingdom, several people have been injured in clashes between police and protesters at a demonstration against a government bill. The bill gives police new powers to restrict protests. Thousands of people gathered in England's western Bristol city for the Kill the Bill protest. Protesters set fire to a police vehicle, aimed fireworks at officers, and scaled a police building. Police said a few hundred people resorted to violence following a peaceful rally and attacked the security personnel. And France has rescued 72 migrants in the English Channel. The French maritime authorities say all rescued refugees are in good health. Authorities said the vessel of the refugees ran into difficulties just off the coast from the port city of Calais. They said the migrants were traveling to the United Kingdom. No injuries were reported and the migrants were handed over to the border police. And former U.S. President Donald Trump is set to return to social media with his own platform in the next 2 to 3 months. In an interview, Trump's advisor Jason Miller said the new platform will completely redefine the game. Miller said it will be the hottest ticket in social media. He noted that the former president already had high-powered meetings with various teams regarding the venture. Miller predicted that Trump will draw tens of millions of people to his massive platform. The former president was suspended from Twitter and Facebook following January's deadly riots at the U.S. Capitol in Washington. More stories after a short break. Stay with us. We're back. Unrelenting rain in Australia's most populous state of New South Wales has worsened the country's once-in-a-century flooding. More on devastating floods in this report.
Torrential rains have lashed Australia's southeast again, forcing thousands to evacuate their homes. The government has declared a natural disaster in large swathes of New South Wales.
Over the course of this event, we've seen some really intense rainfall rates, and it's fallen on some very wet catchments, and we've seen some increased flooding and some pretty catastrophic impacts across eastern New South Wales.
The flooding has forced 18,000 people to evacuate and shuttered hundreds of schools. The disaster has paralysed rail deliveries and left much of the livestock dead.
This has been a very significant flood event for New South Wales. I've been a flood forecaster in the Bureau for 20 years, and this is probably the worst flooding that I've experienced and I've had to forecast.
Millions of residents have been told to avoid travel and work from home after some hard-hit areas received 10 inches of rain in a day. A severe flood warning has been issued for large parts of the state as well as neighbouring Queensland. The wild weather is expected to continue in the upcoming week.
And Mexico has deployed helicopters and soldiers to help firefighters battle dozens of raging wildfires in the northern state of Nuevo León. Officials say the country registered 50 fires across 12 states on Sunday alone. They say the raging wildfires burned through thousands of hectares of prime forest. The Cumbres de Monterrey National Park in Sierra de Santiago remains one of the worst affected. The hot and dry weather has been blamed for the increase in wildfires. Last year, Mexico registered 5,583 wildfires, affecting nearly 310,000 hectares of grassland. In China, a series of valuable discoveries from the SANXINGDUI ruin site have shed light on the diverse origin of the Chinese civilization. More details in this report.
Back in 1986, more than 1,000 treasures were discovered in 2 sacrificial pits at SANXINGDUI. From November 2019 to May 2020, 6 new sacrificial pits of SANXINGDUI were found. Archaeologists have unearthed some important cultural relics from 4 out of 6 pits. These include a rare wooden case, bronze frieze, gold foil, gold masks, and large number of ivories. These were all dated back about 3,000 years at the SANXINGDUI ruins in Sichuan province. Top technologies have been applied to the relics from excavation to restoration, while unearthing them from SANXINGDUI ruins in southwest China's Sichuan.
The archaeological work has realized a working mode of the close integration of traditional, laboratory, science, and technological archaeology and cultural relic protection. This is expected to explore some important and key issues about the ancient Shu civilization.
So far, the team has recovered nearly 200 ivories. The archaeologists used polymer material reinforcement technology to successfully extract a piece of ivory and immediately sent it to the Cultural Relic Protection and Restoration Center. The rest of the newly discovered pits are still under excavation.
In Barcelona, Spain, ravers have adopted the commodious silent discos to keep their party going amid the coronavirus restrictions. More about this new style of partying in this report.
Restrictions on clubbing amid COVID-19 proved to be a nightmare for the partygoers. However, Barcelona ravers found a way to get around the curbs on clubs by holding outdoor silent discos in some of the city's best-known locations. The party peeps welcomed spring by putting on their headphones and tripping to the music, all while respecting social distancing regulations.
We asked ourselves what we could do to boost the dance now that there are so many restrictions, and we had the idea to do it outdoors and with headphones. We first told friends and acquaintances that the people joined because we do it outdoors and in beautiful places where we don't bother anyone and we maintain the safe distance.
What started as a fun meetup between friends has grown into a regular Sunday morning event, the Tribu Silent Disco. One took place at the famous Magic Fountain in the neighborhood of Montjuic.
It's been incredible, amazing. I didn't expect to find so many people here, and at the beginning it was a little weird because you're dancing in the middle of Barcelona. People look at you, but in a friendly way, like they were asking, what's happening here? This is interesting. I believe it's a good choice for a Sunday morning, coming here and connecting with the music.
Silent discos have proven to be a more fun experience as compared to conventional clubbing. Their greater sense of control, environmentally friendly nature, and better comfort level have made them a new trend in the world of partying.
On to the latest in business. European markets have retreated as investors responded to a pullback in Treasury yields at the start of the week. Markets also responded to the tumbling of Turkey's lira after the president ousted the central bank governor. The CAC 40 in Paris is leading the losses, shedding close to 1%. London's FTSE has also lost nearly 0.5%. The Pan-European Stock 600, Frankfurt's DAX, and Italy's FTSE MIB have all slipped marginally. Earlier, Asian markets traded mixed, with Japanese stocks and Seoul's Kospi shedding, while mainland Chinese, Hong Kong, and Australian shares gained. On to sports, and starting off with football. Barcelona have outclassed Real Sociedad 6-1 in their Spanish La Liga face-off. The win takes Barca back to the second place on table with 62 points, 2 clear of third-placed arch-rivals Real Madrid.
Lionel Messi celebrated a record-breaking 768 appearances for Barca with 2 goals. In another fixture, leaders Atletico Madrid beat Alaves 1-0 to go 4 points clear atop league. Luis Suarez scored his 500th career goal, heading home Kieran Trippier's cross in the second half. Meanwhile, Leicester City reached their first FA Cup semi-final with a fully deserved 3-win over Manchester United. Brendan Rodgers' side will now face Southampton at Wembley in the semi-final. Chelsea also moved into the competition semi-finals after beating Sheffield United 2-0 at home. In English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur downed Aston Villa 2-0, while Arsenal drew West Ham United 3-3.
And now it's time to take a look at the latest weather updates from around the world. Well, that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.